great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here today. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your work?
Sure. Well, my background is that I've been a physical therapist for 25 years, and my husband and I have 4 children. We opened a holistic outpatient rehab center about 18 years ago, and I think the thread that binds all my work has been this thought about connection, really this single thing, connection, and really holistic wellness and health and healing. So our outpatient rehab center is set up to bring Eastern and Western medicine together. And as I went through my journey as a mom, so my oldest is 17, I increasingly became interested in attachment theory, and mindfulness as applied to my life, right? And my stopping points along the way as a mom. So I've been teaching, I'm a certified educator of infant massage, and I've been teaching little classes for about 17 years, where every week we come together and we practice the very simple art of connecting with our children, with our babies, starting right from the start. That kind of flowed into mindful parenting classes. I'm a parent educator. So I've been teaching classes and running our health center. And a year ago, it was really at the request of a parent, a graduate of one of my classes, I founded Generation Mindful, because I really felt there was a need out there for playful, practical applications of what we are increasingly learning about how a child is learning in their brain, basically the science of parenthood and child rearing. And what I realized is that many adults out there are doing a fantastic job, but they feel not enough, and they feel overwhelmed, and they feel like I'm being asked to parent my child in a way that I was never raised. How do I do that? And I understand that struggle, and I wanted to help solve that for parents. So that's where Generation Mindful was born. And we are a social mission-driven company that creates tools and toys for kids and adults that nurture emotional intelligence. And we give back to schools, and it's been an awesome journey the last year and a half. So I'm so glad to be here to talk to you about positive parenting today. It's something I'm really passionate about.
Wow, thank you so much. That is really, really exciting. And when I'm thinking about this, and I hear you saying that a lot of parents are feeling that they are to parent in a different way than they were brought up. And it's really interesting because now we just have so much more science available to us, where we're really learning so much more about children, babies, brain development, and how it all connects together with how we parent. And so there's absolutely this great gap to fill between, well, this is what we're hearing from science, but how do we actually apply this and get up to speed with it in our own parenting and still feel like we're doing a good job and we're really being the best parents that we can be and be confident in ourselves as parents.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. We are not lacking for information, are we, these days? I say to my community, we live in the information age. And if you're not careful, you will give your power away to Dr. WebMD and Professor Google, right? And so really the root of my work is this idea about empowerment education. So empowerment education is very different than just education. Because sometimes knowledge can rob us of our heart, right? We get stuck in our head and we have trouble accessing our heart, or what I think of as intuition. So I am very clear that as someone who gives talks, I am not coming in to tell you anything, right? It is not do this or how to. I really lead with information. And I invite people to look for that moment inside yourself where you go, yes, right? Where maybe I say something or I share a story and it resonates in you and your head starts going up and down and you just feel so alive. That for me is the aha. And that's how I facilitate or lead or guide, is just by sharing my life, myself, the tools that are working for me, mostly the stopping points along the way to my life in sourcing mindfulness and connection, because I'm a natural born multitasker, and did not come by this very easily. And I think we teach what we need to know. So I think that I hope that resonates with some of your parents out there who might be doing every class. And you're running this awesome conference full of information. And I just want to invite people to tune into their intuition, even in which course am I going to click on, and let your intuition guide you, because it will not let you down, and it's always there, ready and waiting. So with our talk today, I hope that people get something really actionable out of it, and that they're really listening for that place inside them that says, oh yeah, that piece was for me.
That's wonderful. I know everyone couldn't see me while you were talking, but my head was absolutely going up and down, because I absolutely agree with all of this. And empowerment is what really leads to joy and fulfillment in being a parent and working with kids. And it allows for all of those other moments that are so important, like connection and play and playfulness, all come together. And I think that's a good moment to lead into. Can you tell us really what positive parenting is?
Yes. Well, I think what's a little different about my approach to parenting is not something you do to your child. Try that on for size. Parenting is a relationship. That's how I view parenting. It's who I am, who my child is, and the tools that I have. So if you want, I'm a visual learner, and I think it's helpful to know how you learn. I like to picture this little triangle here. Here I am, here at the top, right? This is me. Down here in the corner is my child. And over here are the tools that I have. What is so cool is, if, like me, I have 4 children, if you're parenting more than one child, I want you to know that you have a unique triangle for every one of your children. That's a relief to many parents who try on, quote, parenting a certain way and find this is failing my other child. And they feel like either their child is broken, or sometimes they think they're broken. And I want you to know, no, it's actually, by definition, how it's going to be, because parenting is a relationship. The other thing I like to invite people into is that positive parenting is not doing everything right. I believe in shame-free experiences as we lead into what is positive parenting. It is not doing it perfect, and it is not doing it right or having a child that does it right all the time. It's a lot of mistakes. And one of the tenets of the work I do is that mistakes actually help us learn and grow. So as we start to adapt a growth mindset with not only our child, but really ourselves, we have a lot more permission to be present in the moment and to parent the way we want to parent, which for me, positive parenting is coming at parenting from my center. And so if it's not something I do to you and it's a relationship and it starts with me, positive parenting keeps bringing me back to self-awareness and self-development and my relationship. And the cool thing is, as we're fostering those things, not only do we feel more joy in the day, even though the day is just as crazy as it ever was, but we're getting more joy out of our other relationships as well, right? So it's pretty awesome when you dive into positive parenting. I say that parenting makes life apparent, right? Being a parent makes life apparent. It truly does. So for me, positive parenting is all of that. It's a journey, it's self-awareness, and instead of controlling my child, it's connecting. It's coming at life through connection.
Absolutely. I mean, that is a really great definition. And it's interesting because positive parenting, it's really hard to just define it in one sentence, because it's not something that you can wrap up into one sentence, because it's a feeling, it's something greater than just a sentence that we can put together. And what the focal point really is relationships. And I think that you brought up an interesting point, is that every connection we have in our life with everyone is a type of relationship. And it's interesting how bringing awareness to our parenting and our relationship, parenting can also improve other relationships in our life. And I've often seen that parallel. And I think that's a very interesting point to bring up.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, for me, if I had to put it in a nutshell, I would say positive parenting is clear, firm, and respectful. So let me give you a distinction, because a lot of people think positive parenting is permissive parenting. They're a little confused.
Absolutely. This is very common.
Yes. Permissive parenting is respectful, but it is not clear and firm. Okay. So if you think about these two, I draw a graph when I teach this in my classes. So on this side, you have clear and firm, and on this side you have respectful. And then just put a yes and a no and a yes and a no, and you get one of those 4 grids, which is yes, clear and respectful, I mean clear and firm, and yes, respectful, and that is positive parenting. Over here, if you have no respectful, but yes, clear and firm, you know what that is? That is autocratic. That is top down. That is I control you and you do what I say and don't talk back. And it's disempowering. And it's actually the way many of us were parented. And our parents loved us. I have the best parents in the entire world. I raised 7 of us, if you could imagine. My mom never, I have no recollection of my mom ever yelling at me. And she raised 7 of us. But I will tell you, she controlled us in other ways. We wanted to please her, and I knew what the right thing to do was. So being a cooperative, good girl, I embodied a more than my fair dose of shame along the way. And that's really, I believe we're here to be the adult we needed when we were a child. And the adult I needed when I was a child was there to say, sweetie, it's not when you do good, you are good, and when you do bad, you are bad. The adult I needed would say to me, Suzanne, and that was my nickname, you are love all the time. Even if you make a mistake, it does not change that. And I needed to know as a child that there was a difference between approval and love. And that's really the root of this work. And my work with positive parenting is educating parents on these distinctions, because we don't even know we're running these numbers on our children because of our belief systems. And we don't realize what might be going on in their little formative belief system brains. And I think with a little education and story sharing, like we're doing right now, so many light bulb moments can happen for parents. And we just wake up to the truth that we're enough already and our kids are enough, right? So we talked about the positive, we talked about the autocratic, when we are respectful, but we are not clear and firm, that's the permissive. And then over here, when you are neither clear, firm, or respectful, that's what we call the mixed bag approach, okay? And that's actually the hardest one for kids, because at least when we're up here and we're autocratic and it's top down, the child knows what to expect. Or if we're over here, we're permissive, the child knows what to expect. But over here in this corner, they have no idea. I call it Jekyll and Hyde. Like, who am I going to be today? And a lot of us, when we're aspiring to positive parenting, we actually end up down here, right? Because we're like, I'm going to be perfect. And then they're like, and then what happens is you go from 0 to 100 and you're triggered. And you go from, oh, I'll never, ever yell at you, to Jekyll and Hyde, I'm yelling at you. And then you feel guilty about it and you flip back over here. So rest assured, if you're doing this, you're probably over here in this mixed bag approach, and it's just because you don't have the tools yet and you're looking for the tools. Once you get those tools down, you'll find, and particularly when you have permission to fail, right? Permission to be not perfect is vital for positive parenting up here, believe me, from the quintessential not perfect mom right here. You can do it once you let yourself off the hook and you lower the bar. That's a big part of my work, is lowering the bar, and strive to be present, not perfect, and accept your emotions always, and own them and be fine with them. Say, you know what, I'm really frustrated. I just asked you to pick up these toys and I see they're everywhere. That is positive parenting. Why? Because it's real, it's expressive, and you're emoting very, I think, self-aware emotional intelligence skills, because you're starting with an I feel statement. So you're teaching your child. I hope that helps sum that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, parenting is a learning experience. It's a learning experience for us, but it's also a learning experience for our children, because at the root of it, every day our children are learning. They're learning from us. And that is really the point of parenting, is to guide and to teach. And so I really connect with what you're saying. And with my audience the other day, I just shared a quote that says, to be human is to be beautifully flawed. So, the thing is, we are human, and it's not in our nature to be perfect. It's really is an illusion, but our flaws can be beautiful. We are beautifully flawed. And what's interesting about that is, I think that beauty comes in with the self-awareness. And when we're aware that we aren't perfect and we do make mistakes, but we're learning from them. That is really the beauty of the human experience and can be applied to parenting.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Thank you. So I'm just wondering, whenever we're talking about positive parenting, what does that look like in terms of discipline? Is it possible to discipline kids without having timeouts and punishments? Because I think that that's where this question of, oh, but if we don't have punishments, then it must be permissive. So how do we put that together?
Oh, my favorite question in the world. So I have a 6-part class series, and one whole part is about discipline. If you do not have discipline, you can't be positive parenting. You just can't. Discipline is a gift. It's a gift we give ourselves. It's a gift we give our children. And I think where the confusion comes in with discipline is we have a false notion in our society. And if you Google love, very soon in the it's a big hot. It's one of the popular Google hits on love, and it is. Let me get the quote exactly right. Love has no boundaries. Love hath no boundaries. That's what it is. The classic love hath no boundaries, right? Total guilt. Because if you're a parent and you want to have boundaries, you start to feel like this is a negative, or I'm not enough, or I'm hurting you, or I'm not positive. False. Love is boundaries. And here's how I drive that home with my classes. I say, think about your best friend. If she does something that you're like, oh, sister, you got to rein that in, or she's wearing something and you're like, oh, I don't know. You're going to tell her because you love her. But if you aren't close, or you don't trust her, or you don't even like her, you're going to be like, oh, that's great. Do that again, or wear that. But it's love that we give that feedback. It's really love. It's in our most close, safe relationships that we're allowed to be truthful. So with that said, boundaries, I can give you a couple practical tips because I think that's what your parents are wanting. Number one, with your boundaries, make your words positive. You will be shocked when you remove these. I call them my power words. No, don't, can't, need, and have to. Now, when I present that to groups of family or, parents, they're like, I got nothing left. You're going to take those words from me? But we do some practicing, and I want you can throw any sentence at me and I will change it for you if you want. You use no, don't, can't, need, or have to, and if you want to play this game. And we just turn it around, and if you think about it, don't drop the candy dish is please put the candy dish down. No, you may not have chocolate chips is chocolate chips are dessert. We have those for special times. No, you can't have a friend over is I really hear you'd like to have someone over. Let's talk about that, and we'll look at the calendar. It sounds like next Saturday would be a really good time for that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to clean up the toys, or you can't have a cookie, or things like. I mean, these are statements that we can hear ourselves saying on a regular basis, and it's so ingrained in us to talk from this perspective, leading with a negative or a have to, where it's almost hard to imagine how can we turn that into a positive phrase. But then listening to examples like this, you start to see, it really is possible, but our brains just aren't trained to go to that place first. And so that's really the work that we're working on.
Yes, I believe in resonance energy. And if you think about a tuning fork, if I hit a tuning fork over here and I'm holding one over here that I did not hit, what happens to this one? It starts to vibrate. So when I'm pissed off, I'm scary mom, right? And I can be saying all the right words. And my kids are like, scary mom is over there. She wants the toys cleaned up. And they're reacting to me just like I would react to them if they were spitting or throwing things right at me. I would start to feel under attack. I would start to move into my brainstem, and that's going to lead me to fight, flight, or freeze, and it does not lead to connection. But when we can understand the brain, and this might be a fun place to go, with the red light, the yellow light, and the green light, that's how simple I explain it. The red light brain being fight, flight, or freeze, when we can identify that we're in that mode or our child is, we can actually have tools that we go over and grab to get us out of that, to move us up into the yellow brain, which is more emotive. It's the middle brain. And then from there up to the green brain, which is our prefrontal cortex. And that's where all of our social emotional skills are waiting for us. Sort of like if you saw the movie Inside Out and they have that big grand panel of all those really cool switches. We all have one of those, and so do our kids. But our kids are not wired yet for sound there. They only start wiring for sound, that green part of their brain, about age 2.5. And it doesn't stop developing until about age 26 for men and 24 for women, which women love to hear. But so, yeah, I think that that's really important to be aware of, right? That's all happening inside of us and our child. And when we go to those negative words, what we're doing quintessentially is we're picking a fight. We're poking the bear, and we're getting into a power struggle. And I will tell you that if you walk away with just that tool and you transform those 5 power words, I call them power words, tomorrow will be a different day. It will be. And be gentle with yourself, because you're going to notice, holy cow, I say no, don't, can't, need, and have to 50 times a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's where it's good to take a moment and realize, I mean, first of all, self-awareness is the first step to any type of change, and then realizing that change is a process and it takes time. And even if you're aware of it, but you haven't quite made the jump to changing, you're already on the path. So don't get down about it. And I also really think that example that you used about the tuning fork is really, really powerful, because when we have feelings and emotions, our children absolutely are sensing how we feel. So if we're feeling anxious, angry, all of this, it will be transferred onto our kids, and that will change how they're responding and reacting to us. And so there's definitely that link, and parents definitely know that that link goes the other way, that when our child is being a little bit difficult and we're feeling attacked by our child, or that their tone might be disrespectful, we feel ourselves starting to react. And so it's understanding that really this honestly is a two-way street that starts a cycle, and children don't have enough brain development to say, oh, wait, this is happening, we need to stop. And so they're really looking to us to have that self-awareness and say, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Let's take a step back, change the tone.
Yes. And you asked a great question. You asked about how can we discipline without punitive strategies? And it's the biggest question. And I was doing, I do a lot of classes in privates, and I was constantly solving this problem with clients. And I realized this is a problem people are having. So I actually created something called the Time In Toolkit to help walk people through what I was doing one-on-one with people, and helping them move away from the mindset of control and punishment to a mindset of connection and modeling. And so it's just a set of tools. It's super easy to set up, and it walks you through creating a calming corner in your home and letting go of punishment 100%. You will not need a timeout ever again. You will start to use something called a time in. And what is so powerful about this is I have parents that are saying, holy cow, when we started using your Time In Toolkit, did the emotions come out? And they said for that first week, I was just holding on tight, because they were like, this is getting worse. But what they realized is, for the first time, their 3-year-old had permission to feel. And so there were so much feelings coming out, and they realized how much unconsciously they had been clamping down on the feelings and not allowing for the feelings, which, if you're tired of the whining and you're like, what is going on with my kid? They are so emotive, and you want it to stop. It seems counterintuitive, but the way out is to lean in. And so the Time In Toolkit holds your hand and says, here, we're going to help you teach your child social emotional skills and mindfulness and self-regulation. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to make emotions safe. We're going to say mistakes help us learn and grow. And we're going to say, when you are bad, when you act bad, it does not mean you are bad. Wow. That light bulb moment in a 3-year-old, their unconscious anger and angst a lot of times is resisting the belief system that they are bad. And the world wants to tell them they are bad. They are curious, they are explorers, and they are wired. They are not going to stop exploring their sensory world. And so they get angry and emotional, and they do not have the cognitive abilities to say to you, you are really running a manipulative number on me, or, I don't like the way that feels when you said that, because they're 3. But what they can do is be frustrated, right? And so and parents are left scratching their heads going, what is going on with my sweet angel? So if that's of interest, I can tell you more about that. But really, it's just embracing the idea and letting go of timeouts and moving into time ins. And I will tell you, I have 4 children. I tried timeouts with my first 2. My first child is a cooperative child, so I actually thought they worked. I thought they were working, but I was systemically shaming her, and I was creating a good girl. And you better believe she's 17 now, and thank God I broke out of that action about age 5, because I don't want a good girl who does what she's told at age 17. You don't want that kind of teenager on your hands. You want a girl who thinks for herself, she's got a mind, and she'll say, I don't think so, right? And I was able to let go of that typical type of parenting and shift over. She was about age 5 and fully embrace non-punitive. I completely let go of punitive. And my twins, who are 8, have never been punished, and they're proud to say they've never had a timeout. And it's funny, they had a little friend over the other day, and my little 8-year-old boy was telling him, like, I don't know, I've never, and the friend was like, what? Like, that can't even be real. And Miss Tucker thought he was totally lying, and no, it's true. So I want you to know it's possible, and it's very rewarding.
That is so refreshing and encouraging to hear, because this is a new venture and journey for a lot of people. And so it's really wonderful to hear your story and your transformation in using this paradigm for parenting. And one goal of this conference is to really start to shift what society and the world is telling us and toddlers about themselves, as you were saying, because society tells us you have a sweet baby, and then toddlers are terrible. And that is what the main mission of this conference is, to dispel that notion, because it's something that unconsciously is affecting not only us, but our children.
It is such a beautiful mission. I love that you've honed in and you're focusing on the toddler years. This is our opportunity to heal the planet. If we can get clear as adults about what's actually happening in the little person's mind and heart from age 0 to 3, this is everything. And so, kudos to you. And I'm just so excited to be a part of this. And for all your listeners out there, keep hitting play and listening to these and being inspired, and know that it's a journey, and you're doing great, and you're not broken, and your kid's not broken, and you're not raising a psychopath. I can't tell you how many parents I work with one-on-one that are really, truly scared. And I think once they believe me and they realize how normal what they're experiencing is, they lean in, they exhale, and life gets easier just because they're not judging what's going on. And if you look at positive parenting, it pulls in mindfulness, and that is just being present to the moment and being with what is. So give yourself permission to be not perfect, and your little people to be not perfect, and go make sure that you feel supported and that you have tools. And it will be a brighter day. It will not be a less chaotic day. It'll still be chaotic, but there'll be so much more joy.
Absolutely. And that's the real point, is that we're here on this earth for a limited amount of time, and that it's important to find the joy. And our children are only small for a limited amount of time. So find the joy. And that's really what we're working to do.
That's it. Find the joy. And my favorite 3 words in parenting, if I had one tip for me, it's follow your bliss. Follow your bliss. The joy will be there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And I'm sad to say that our time is coming to a close, but I know that you have a free gift that you would like to offer our audience. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about that.
Sure. I believe we've got 2. We've got a download for you that is my favorite go-to list. for mindful, positive parenting. It's basically going to hold your hand when you're feeling like, oh, I'm not doing this positive parenting thing. You can run over to your list, read through these 12 thinking points, and they're going to invite you. One of them is going to be your aha, and you're going to self-correct. And I think we're just all looking for that pause button, and this is my pause button. I made it for me. It's on my fridge, right? And so I hope your listeners enjoy that. The other is a $40 coupon to my 6-part online course. So if you're looking for more support and tools in a community where you know you're enough and you are guided in helping, hold up that mirror to your child about their enoughness, we are here at Generation Mindful, and I'd love to have you join. So we've got a $40 off coupon for you as well.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. That is very, very generous. And I think that a lot of the parents out there would absolutely benefit and love these gifts. I think it's very generous of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.